So let's talk about your goals, because it's really, really important that you know where the hell you're going this year. Most people don't know where the hell they're going. They wake up every day, they don't know, where the hell am I going? I have no idea. So let me give you 5 things about goals. Most people don't actually have goals. And if they do, they don't really understand the key principles to setting goals and achieving goals. Just to quote Earl Nightingale, achieving goals is actually easy. Setting goals is hard. Okay. And it's hard to stay focused on the goals that we set. Right. That's the biggest problem. You've heard me talk about this before. So Psycho-Cybernetics, there's 5 rules he gives you. It's in the back of chapter 2. The chapter 2 is called Discovering Your Success Mechanism. So he proved through science and research that we have this built-in automatic cybernetic goal-seeking mechanism, much like a missile or a torpedo or a GPS on your phone or a thermostat, right? We have this device, our mind, that is goal-seeking, and it directs our brain and our nervous system. So if you're not thinking very well and you're not feeling really good, it's because you're not using your mind properly, okay? And this book, by the way, we're going to get into, this is our next book, we're going to get into in my Mindset Book Club. So you'll hear about that likely this week when we're starting that. I think I put a post in, get the right copy of the book. I've got an old version here, but I got a newer version we're going to go through. And we're going to tear this book apart, because there's no better time than now to really get you to understand how this GPS works. Now, the cool thing is, you've got this machine. You're not a machine, but you have this machine, and you're the operator. Okay? You're directing it. So I think it stands to reason, and the conclusion I came to, and this is really a turning point, was when I read this, especially chapter 2, I figured I should follow the instruction. This is like the operator's manual on your mind. If you want to know how your mind directs your brain, your nervous system. I mean, anybody struggling with anxiety and depression should read this frickin' book. Okay? Anybody that's got an inferiority complex should read this book. Anybody that's got a self-worth problem should read this book, and you'll get really clear on how to think properly, because you're probably not thinking straight. I wasn't. All right. So I'm just going to cover off these 5 key points, and then we're going to wrap it up. And so he tells you, this is in the practice exercise at the back of lesson 2. And he says, read this chapter through at least 3 times per week for the next 21 days. You need to be familiar with the following, because having memorized them, it'll throw new light on what is to follow and how your mind works. Okay. So number 1, your built-in success mechanism must have a goal or a target. Okay. It's goal seeking. And it's a scanner. Like, if you don't have a goal, this machine is scanning around looking for where it should take you. And whatever you're thinking about, that's where it goes. So if you're thinking about lack, that's where it goes. If you're thinking about problems, that's where it goes. Right? Whatever you think about, whatever you dwell on, is where it goes. Okay. I was dwelling on getting to New York City. Okay. I was locked into that. I was prepared to drive, all night if I could. Right. So we got to get that straight. Number 2, this automatic mechanism, it's teleological, meaning it operates by end results goals. He said, don't be discouraged because the means whereby it may not be apparent. In other words, don't be discouraged if you can't see the way. Okay? Even in that blinding snowstorm, I couldn't see 100 feet in front of me. I just kept driving. Okay? Don't worry if you can't see the way. All right? You just got to understand the mind is teleological. So I'm driving my car, and I got a pretty sophisticated car, like it can sense, if I'm off track on the road, it's got cameras all around, and I've got my map on my phone running, giving me directions, all this stuff. I got all this gear to try to keep me on track. Number 3, don't be afraid of making mistakes or temporary failures, all servo mechanisms. So your mind is a servo mechanism, a torpedo, a missile, an autopilot on an airplane. They're servo mechanism. They're cybernetic mechanisms, all right? All servo mechanisms achieve a goal by negative feedback or by going forward, making mistakes and immediately correcting course. That's when I fell in love with failing. Because I knew if I was failing, I was course correcting. I was making my, just like a torpedo, fails its way to hit the ship, okay? It's got sonar and radar on board. And if it senses heat and sound. And so if it gets off track, right, gets further from the heat of the ship and the sound of the ship, it course corrects and it fails its way to the target. Right? So it kind of changes your attitude on failing. And number 4, skill learning of any kind is accomplished by trial and error, mentally correcting aim after an error until a successful motion, movement, or performance has been achieved. In other words, what you do is you just go forward through trial and error and you learn, and the machine remembers the successful movement and it forgets the failure. Now, see, we don't like to do that. What we like to do, we like to talk about our failures and we like to bring them back up. You know, in 2020, blah, blah, blah. You know, in 2019, blah, blah, blah. Right? And we love to use our memory to bring shit back up. Right? He tells you later in the book, do not look backwards on your past. But that's what we do because that's what we're trained to do. And then lastly, he said, and this is most important, you must learn to trust the mechanism to do its work and don't jam it up by becoming too concerned or too anxious as to whether it will work. You get that? Right? You got to trust it. And what this book will help you to do, and I'm trying to, convince you and teach you and get you to understand this in a much simpler way, is that when you understand this, you trust it. And when GPSs first came out, or when maps came out on my iPhone, I didn't really trust it because it was taking me in the wrong direction. I remember I was traveling Northern Ireland, and I was heading up the northern coast, and the iPhone, this was 2018 or 2019, I think. I spent about a month in Ireland, and I'm driving up the coast, and the map says turn left here. And it looked like, oh, this is cool. We can actually cut through the mountains and save ourselves time, because I had to get somewhere for Wi-Fi because I was doing a Zoom class like this from my car via Zoom, and I had to get to a village that had Wi-Fi. Like, shit, this will save me some time. Well, we make the turn, we end up on this farmer's road, and we come up with this dead end, and it's basically, a gate. So we open up the gate to try to get through, see if we can get any further. And next thing you know, all these sheep come running down the mountain trying to get out of the gate. And I thought, shit, I don't trust this freaking map. So we closed the gate. Sheep didn't get out. We got back on the highway. Ultimately we got to where we were going. And so I didn't trust them in the beginning, So you got to trust the mechanism to do it work, and don't jam it up by worrying if it does work or not. Okay. And he said here, you must let it work rather than make it work. So one of the problems we have is because we're afraid of failure or criticism, or we're not going to succeed or whatever. We try to do it with force. That's not the way that it works. Okay. I could not force the map on my phone to change the directions as I was driving to New York. I had to let the GPS work. I couldn't force it to work. Right? And so that's what we got to get straight. And he says at the end, he says, you must not wait to act until you have proof that it works. You can come on these calls, be in this membership for the next 5 years. If you're waiting for proof, you're not going to get it. You're going to get the proof by acting. Okay. You must not wait to act until you have proof. You must act as if it is there and it will come through. In other words, you must take action and move towards that you want. Act as if it is there and it will come through. And he quotes Emerson, do the thing and you will have the power. Okay. So that's it. here's what I want you to do between now and Thursday. Just get your pen out and make a list of your wants. Just make a shopping list. Pretend you're going to the gold store, right? Pretend it's Christmas again, and you get to go to the gold store and you can get whatever you want. It's got everything you possibly could want. Okay. So just make a shopping list of all of your wants. But when you get to the gold store, you only can pick one. Okay, because you can't go in two directions at the same time. You can only head to one destination at a time. Right? I can't go to Rome and go to Paris at the same time. I can only go to one place at a time. So you make a list of all the places you want to go, all the things you want to do, all the things you want to be, all the things you want to have. Just make a shopping list. And then you decide, all right, what's the first one I'm going after? And you have to pick one. And so I want you to make a list. I want you to pick a goal, pick one thing that you'll focus on, okay? One destination. And then write out a detailed description as if you're already there. Pretend you popped into a souvenir store and you bought a postcard. And you're sending a postcard home. You're already there. Right? I want you to write a postcard. Write out a detailed description. You're already there. Man, oh man, I'm so excited. Here I am in Paris, you know, or here I am, and write a written description as if you're already there. Okay, and as much detail as you can. So when you know where you're going and why you want it, right, what the purpose is, it ignites you. It just fills you with energy. It gives you discipline and focus. A lot of people have a problem with discipline and focus. If they would just have a goal they really wanted, they would develop discipline and focus. Don't develop discipline and focus and then set the goal. Okay? I was very disciplined and focused to get to New York City. Okay? I had to drive very carefully. I had to really focus because the weather was bad, and there was cars and trucks, and I'd never seen so many cars and, you know, big transport trucks in the ditch ever in my life. They were scattered everywhere in a 2-hour window on the highway. It was amazing. It was scary, but it was amazing. I was very disciplined. I was very focused. So that's what goals do. They fire you up. They give you energy. They give you enthusiasm. They get you better in the morning. They keep you up late at night. They keep you focused and disciplined on what you want. You're not scrolling through freaking social media and binging on Netflix. You get locked into it and you become very, very effective. Okay. So listen, achieving goals is easy. Setting goals is hard for the reasons that I mentioned.